Welcome, everybody. It's the Truth Serum. Hello, everybody. We're on a slight delay here. Sunday night, we're gonna something different pertaining to a lost interview with Mike Franzese. I just want to establish a couple things. Get a coffee, get a smoke, get a drink. Come hang out with the Truth Serum. We're rising up, so we have a little fun over here. So I I posted this for 7 o'clock, but I'm doing it now. Whoever wants to join in, join in. I'm not going to be so nitpicky and all that. I do it when I do it. If you hit the notification bell, then you know when I'm coming on. I can't change diapers, okay? Forgive me. It seems like everybody's in fairyland, fruity land. Everybody is, like whatever. So I used to run around years ago. And what's interesting about this video that Mike Franzese is being interviewed in is that this estate that he had that they show, um, I was familiar with it. I might have mentioned that in another video when my godfather might have went out there, and some other people went out there too, but very, very private. You can't just. I don't even know if anybody could get in the house. Very private. That was Long Island, or was it Staten Island? My mind is shot. So, hey, Mike, how's it going? I did this a half hour early, and I'm gonna play an interview when Mike did the gas tax scheme and all of that kind of stuff, and a lot's been publicized about that, and what has happened since. Much speculation as what is truth, what is speculation, what is fact. A lot, of course. You get mob tube, you get it's a rodeo out there, and um, I was around, and when I first started running around with that gambling ring and the Colombo, it was very stressful, and I saw Mike a rare time when things were getting volatile, and he was pretty cool. I was having ulcers because people were following me on my run and everything. And he was pretty cool about uh, hanging in there, for moral support because I say a lot of stuff about him, but it's tough either way, when you look at things because I think inside person is genuinely cool, and then what happens in that life is chaotic. But I ain't gonna talk no smack about Mike. I mean, those days are over. We're all older. I'm not gonna talk any smack about Mike Franzese. I mean, everybody's got their opinions. I've said more than enough, and you know I think there'd be some interesting facts that nobody's ever heard about what happened when he got busted and then how he left like a thief in the night. So I'm going to pick up with this recording, and you'll hear an interviewer and you'll hear Mike. You'll hear Mike. I'll briefly show his face. It's the young Mike. It's the young Mike. Not what you see on the new YouTube and everything, but it's the young Mike. So let's just pick this up right where it is. He's in a church praying right now.
Let's pray. We pray for those who have stooped below their best. Michael Franzese has a lot to pray for. Before he was born again, he was a family man. Family was the Colombo crime family, and Michael Franzese was a captain, one of the richest and most powerful men in the mob. We pray for those who suffer.
There he is, young,
and cannot trust their friends. 5 years ago, he was sent to prison, so he cut a deal with the government. And then he says he walked away. He quit the Mafia.
We pray for those who are trying to carry the load alone.
He's 39 now, and he refuses to go into the witness protection program or change his identity.
That's a young Mike. Footage that you never see. And they're talking about what happened and then how he got away. He's just doing limited stuff. There'll be a government guy talking about it, but I'm just gonna you could just hear the audio of it, okay? And when they show this compound, I'm gonna speak on that too. So let's check it out.
He says he won't live that way.
He's young.
He did ask that we not say precisely where he lives, that we not show his house or his cars. You helped the government. Don't they want to kill you for that?
There are people, some of my former associates, that are not happy with what I did because I'm not, acting in accordance with the oath, that they would like to see me deceased.
That's how I remember him looking young, but he didn't have a beard. And I think he had 2 wives. So we're going to listen to this. And Mike, you never watched this, but I have no ill feelings or anything like that because it's just the way it is. He's a Christian.
Interesting way to put it. You don't look over your shoulder?
Well, let me put it this way. I mean, I am very much aware of what's going on around me. And I, again, was very much a part of a life. And I know what people are capable of.
Why did you leave the Mafia?
I didn't want that for my wife and kids. I wanted a different life.
Well, there's no question that he's in a great deal of danger.
Ed McDonald was a federal prosecutor in Brooklyn.
Now, this Ed McDonald is the same guy that was in Goodfellas at the end. This agent, he's the same guy. This Ed McDonald, interesting guy. They gave him a part on Goodfellas. He loves the action. So this is him talking about how what happened.
Why he's doing what he's doing is beyond me. I think he has to be crazy.
He's under a death sentence. They're going to come after him eventually. It's just only a matter of time.
His name is Gary Matera. Is he a bodyguard? A federal agent?
He says, yeah, they're going to come after him eventually, this and that. This is over 30 years removed. Ain't nobody going after him. Nobody's going after him. I'm gonna state a couple things later on into this. This isn't that long. This is only about 10 minutes, and then they interview Henry Hill, but we're not gonna do Henry Hill. This must have been rat night on this. Must have been rat night.
No, he's an author writing the Michael Franzese story. After all, Franzese is articulate, stylish. You might say a young Michael Corleone type, straight out of The Godfather. I think it was Life magazine that called you the yuppie mobster.
I believe so,
Yeah. How much money did you make?
Okay.
Millions of dollars.
He asked him how much money did he make. Now, they're going to refer, of course, we know about the infamous gas tax scheme, as well as other enterprises, but he's much renowned for the and I was running a lot of deliveries and blah, 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 and all that. But that was just pennies for what he had going on with that gas tax scheme. And you can't just get away with running some huge racket because it gets around to the other families. So let's hear,
I don't know exactly how much. I mean, there's no secret. The fact that I made a tremendous amount of money.
And just how powerful was Michael Franzese?
Michael, as far as New York is concerned, is probably the most significant organized crime figure to cooperate with the federal government.
And just how violent was he? Did you kill anybody?
No, I didn't.
To be inducted into the Mafia, you have...
See, now he asked him a very interesting question that's caused a lot of debate. he asked him if he ever killed anybody or not, and he says no. So, but back then they would say, "Oh well, you know, you got to earn to get in there," and it's crazy. Michael sent me here to deliver cease and desist. You're playing a dangerous game, Jojo. I'm only playing 10 to 15 seconds at a time. So he'll be all right. He'll be all right. I'm not bashing him. He'll be all right. So he's asking him about how much money he's made and everything else, and what and how what led to him leaving that life.
To make your bones, and to make your bones, you have to kill somebody.
To make your bones, you have to hit somebody, but you got to remember who his father was. So Sonny was real powerful. So, he talks about something he did on Halloween night or whatever, but that's all speculation. I don't know. But other than that, the only bones he made was being he was the yuppie. What are you doing now, Brett? Brett, what's going on over there? So yeah, so he was like the son of the king, and he come in and he wasn't hanging around clubs. He had an office in Manhattan. He was more or less the accountant. I call him the accountant of the Colombo family. And you could say, well, what did he have power? Well, you could say families had muscle power, but when you got hundreds of millions of dollars, you could buy an army. So it's assumed that whatever comes along with money is power, because he would pull up with 2 cars with security, 2 cars, 10 people when I was running around.
So we've all accepted that he's a made man in the Mafia. So that goes without saying.
It may go without saying, but I want to make sure I understand you. You're saying you believe Michael Franzese has killed at least once?
No.
Yes, and
No.
probably more. He did what he had to.
He's asking a reporter right now. The interview guy's asking the reporter whether Mike whacked somebody or not. The reporter wrote a book about Mike's life, and of course, he wants to fill that in. But I'm gonna tell my guess right now is no, not even close, not even close to him ever doing that. I would just think, just for the few times it wasn't in his DNA. It just wasn't in his DNA. He never did. I don't know whether somebody said something about when he grabbed all that money. When he grabbed all that money, things might have got hot, and maybe some other families might have had ideas about that money. I don't know what the collateral damage was from that, but you can't. You have to. We'll get. I'll get to where I'm going right now. I mean, we'll let it play out. So, because I'll comment on it. But this reporter's trying to say you have to freaking have hit somebody or whatever.
Yeah. And what if he said, "I never killed anybody"?
You never did.
I never killed anybody. I never ordered the killing.
You never did.
Well, that's what would you expect him to say at this point?
Mm-mm. Now they're playing this video because I think I told you he was making those B movies and whatever flicks in Florida way back when he was grabbing all that money, and then they were doing cheap productions, and that's where he met his I think second wife. She was a dancer in one of the videos, but that reporter that we just heard, he wants to romanticize that Mike did this, and in order to be a member, you got to whack somebody. No, you know what? A lot of people didn't have to whack somebody to get in. This was a different age of the mob. This was right in the infancy and the start and the evolution of the mob going downhill. the mob going downhill. Because when people were trying to get a lot of bulk up their families, because prior to that, there was some mob wars. So people were being made left and right just to have a good army. Because prior to this, preceding this, there was a lot of wars going on. So, but nonetheless, and even more so, Mike would have just got fathered in by his father, Sonny. So, without having the whack, there was a lot of people that were in the mob as the mob evolved that didn't. I'm talking as it evolved past the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. As it evolved, that's the cutoff line, and then everything went wacky. So they're going to talk about. Don't listen to what that author says. He wants to romanticize and write in a book, speculate that, yeah, well, the Cosa Nostra says you got to hit somebody in order to be made. Nah, maybe some Joe Schmo, maybe, but not Sonny Francese's son, who was the Prince Yuppie.
At the height of his mafia power, Michael Franzese produced B-movies.
B-movies.
Including this one, where he met his second wife, Cammy.
Yeah.
She's the dancer in blue.
Dancer.
He owned a huge estate, car dealerships, restaurants, and...
Okay. This right here, this huge estate, right there. Now, Robert B., remember I said I went up to a mansion? Beautiful property and everything. Voila.
He owned an oil business.
We were gasoline wholesalers. As wholesalers responsible for collecting the tax on every gallon of gas that we sold. We collected the tax and didn't pay for it.
What was Michael Francese's cut of that?
Michael's cut of that was anywhere from
This interviewer is asking an author, like these authors that, it's all secondary information, possibly compromised. So this author, I consider it as a scrub because he can't even begin to, he don't understand how much that gas tax business meant. You could hear it from the government, what it was. You could hear from different sources, but this guy says 5 to 10 tens a minute. Let's just hear what the reporter heard. These bum reporters.
$4 to
$4 to $5 million
in
a week.
cash a week.
In 1986, he got caught and was sent to prison, but he didn't stay there long. Franzese cut a deal. He would talk and pay a $14 million fine, and the government would...
So now he got caught. So he used to pay a $14 million fine. And now they're going to talk to the federal guy. And he's going to tell you what happened.
Set him free. All right, well, stop me when I'm wrong, okay? He was supposed to pay the government $14 million. He hasn't paid anything near $14 million. That's right. There's not a single mafioso behind bars because of anything Michael Franzese told you.
Now, number one, he says he was supposed to pay $14 million, but he hasn't paid any amount of money as of yet, okay? Number two, he's going to say, well, did any of his testimony put anybody in prison? Let's check it out, Sir Drums.
Is that correct?
Well, there are people who are in prison based on information Michael provided. But
So he says there are people in prison based on the information that Mike Franzese provided. So it doesn't have to be court testimony. It's just like, well, listen, Mr. Fed, look that way, you might find something. Look that way, you might find something. Look that way, you might find something. So what kind of juice did he give the feds where just forget about that 14 million in fines? Just forget about that 14 million in fines. That's all right. Not to mention, where's the rest of it? So here's the federal guy still talking.
But no mafia types.
yeah, that's not. Well, there are. There's at least one, Frank Campione, who was was a chauffeur for his father.
So he goes, oh, but they weren't mafia types. Listen, Billy and Sally, what did you think? They wanted to get a plumber or a janitor for jaywalking? The Fed is, of course, going to say in a public interview, well, no, he cooperated, but not on any mafia types. Really? Really? So what did you bring him in for? What did you bring him in for? To get information about some soldier? But that's the government. So let's continue.
A chauffeur and a Chicago agent who wasn't even in the mob. He was also supposed to give the government.
The guy that he gave information about was actually a government Fed that he gave, a chauffeur that was trying to infiltrate, who was actually a Fed. So take that off the what kind of ring around the rosy are they playing? He's the Fed's golden boy. He's the Fed's golden boy. Let's continue.
His Long Island estate.
Long Island.
It's not in his name.
That's the place I was talking about in a previous video, where at the end, let me make sure this is right. At the end, had to go up there, boom, 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 quick and everything. But that's that. I'm not going to elaborate on that. Yeah. Sir Drums, how's it going? Benny, what's going on? So let's continue.
And the government has yet to collect. And he signed over the profits from a movie to the government. But there aren't.
So what he just said was they never collected anything. But he said, well, I'll sign over the profits of that movie, that B movie. Now, that B movie, that dance movie, didn't make anything. So that's off the table. Well, listen, Mr. Fed, I'm not paying any of that 14 mil. And they're not going after him for it. But you know what? Just for public record, I'll give you the profits of that B movie flick that didn't make a penny. And oh, that sounds good, Mike. That sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Well, what's going on here? What's going on?
No profits. The government claims it's not finished with it. But the question remains, did Michael Franzese, Mafia family man, completely outmaneuver his Uncle Sam?
I think the deal was fair for the both of us. It accomplished what I wanted to accomplish to a great degree, and I think that the government should look at it as a real victory.
So Mike says, well, we both won. The government accomplished what they wanted to accomplish, and I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. Well, what did the government accomplish? They didn't get any proceeds from that B-flick movie. He didn't pay his fine. So peel the layer. I would just guess he's an ongoing informant. What else can you look at? What is the government's position? What is their motivation? Well, forget about that 14 million in fines. Out of that, what they claim to be $500 million. So forget about that 0.5% in fines. Leave that. They said he admitted, the Fed admitted that he didn't pay a penny of it. That we'll throw you a couple bucks from that B movie dance flick that didn't make anything. So there's no revenue generated there. So in other words, the feds have got completely zero retribution from a gas tax scheme that they claim made $500 million. So what would be the Fed's motivation, and what value would Michael have to the Feds? If you just think half a second about it. So it would have to be, in my guess, that, and of course past this interview, he did testify in front of the Senate hearing committee. So they had a highly recognizable name, and they wanted to act like they had some kind of victory. But what was the compensation for saying, forget about the fines, forget about any proceeds from any profit-making machine, and we'll just let you go free and What's the motivation for that? I'd have to say he's continually giving them juice. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I do not know. But I told you before that there's a there's the regular five families. There's the regular five families, and then there's a hierarchy of the shadow mob that's very political, very, very political. Well, the feds are part of the government political apparatus. So there must have been something worth much more value to the feds that Mike could provide to them. For them to say, forget about any fines, forget about any future profits, and you could just ride off into the sunset. So there's something way above that that fad that got on there, the fad that got on there and talked. There's something beyond that was the motivation and the reason for what happened. How he, so, but that was a long time ago. Of course, he had a price on his head, but he's fine now. He's an older man. I don't want to bash him. Though that's long ago. Let's see what else he has to say.
One, they got a high-ranking official in the mob to sit down and talk to them. They got him to publicly say that he's turning his back on the mob. I mean, in essence, I've thrown in the towel and I said, hey, they won.
Before he became a Mafia hoodlum,
One of the initial arrests, I guess one of your first rides in a paddy wagon.
Michael Franzese was a pre-med student. His parents wanted him to become a doctor.
That's all I remember since I was a year old. All I can remember is
Mike was going to be a male nurse. Mike wanted to be a male nurse, and I think he was going to go to college, a small, it might have been Oswego, or a small state college to become a nurse. But his father, he wanted to carry on, so he went that way.
to be a doctor. I mean, they wanted it, I think, more than I did.
But Michael Franzese decided to go into his father's business instead.
Looks great. It looks just as good now.
His father, Sonny, was Mafia royalty.
It looks really tough there.
Sonny was also a captain in the Colombo crime family.
This is a shot during the bank robbery trial.
Until he was sentenced to 50 years in prison for conspiracy to rob banks.
Of course, that's the Colombo family. That's the family that my godfather was most connected to. My godfather did a lot of work for them, and the gambling ring that the club was part of, and that's why I saw Mike a handful of times, very, very briefly. He was always under high security, and of course he knew who my godfather was because my godfather did a great part of the work, part of the work for the Colombos. So of course he knew that I was Mickey's godson, and he was real nice to me because I was under a lot of pressure the one time, and he was really cool to me. And forget about MobTube and RatTube and all that. Everybody's older, and of course he's a Christian, and I'm a Christian, so that's it. It ain't gonna do me no service to get up here and continually talk smack about Mike Franzese. He's an old man. He's a Christian. He's trying to do his thing, and we're both alive. We're both alive from the psycho Colombo family, the heinous Colombo family. So that's that. Let's hear what else they got.
When I first became a part of it, I was proud of the association. I felt good about being a part again of something that my father was so much a part of. I was committed to being a good soldier, and I did my best to act in the way that the mob would expect me to act, and I think that's why I excelled. Cammy talked about the movie The Goodfellas. I took her to see that film not knowing what the film would really be like because I never read the book. And when I sat back and I looked at it and I said, there's a case there where guys killed somebody and went, sat down, had dinner. And it's true. It's true. And guys were proud of that. That's what you were supposed to do. You go do something like that, and you sit down, you have a dinner, and life goes on, and carry on. And
That was real.
Yeah, they talk about all this crazy stuff, and then it's just like, oh, pass the butter. What? Don't. That's my godfather a lot of times, because he got into some really pertaining to the target, for the reasons why somebody was going to get smashed. Sometimes torture. They didn't want, they would torture and stuff. But my godfather told me he slept like a baby, but then when he got older, he started having visions, and like, post stress, he started having visions and stuff out of the blue. I don't know. No, Benny. No. I might have seen him, but I didn't know. I might have saw him, but didn't know him as that name. A lot of guys had nicknames. Yeah. Hey, Deb. Yeah, a lot of guys had nicknames. So let's see. This interview is going to be ending with Mike. Let's check it out.
Life for you at one point.
yeah, it was.
This is the first draft of the photo lab. The way I like to start with is a picture of you as a child.
These days, the movies are real life for Michael Franzese.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think I have any of my childhood pictures here.
He and Matera are finishing up the photo layout for their book,
Here's Joe Colombo, and you go, this is what happened to Joe Colombo.
and he's
Yeah, this was way back when he was doing his first book. See, way back then, this is the way I read Mike. This is the way I read Mike. Mike wanted to be in the movies. Mike wanted to be a movie star. That's why he did that production stuff in Florida, and then, B movies, but he wanted to be in that Hollywood movie industry. Look where he fled to, out in California. And so then a few years later, he's got a YouTube channel with a beautiful production and stuff. So now he can do his thing like that, which is all right with how the guy's older and everything. So he liked the limelight because his ego was so big as being Sonny Francese's kid and then making the most money of a racket. So his ego is so inflated of just having the best of everything all the time, renowned, popular, publicized. And when this interview started and said this was the first time that Mike did it, no, he did another interview with one of those old New York stations like WR. He did a public interview prior to this one. But these producers here, they don't know all the juice. They said, this is the first time. Well, it was the second time. It was at least the second time, But I think Mike liked the limelight. And that's when he come up with the YouTube channel, And Damon, none of us are young chickens anymore. No, but when you go back into the video and you see that big, huge mansion over there, I think he had 2 or 3 huge estates, but I might have been familiar with that one there because there had to be some communication at the one time. I went down there, delivered, and then everybody met and they said follow. So my godfather knew the area, of course. So we went out there, and there was a little talk and everything. But I don't want to speak on that because it's just medial stuff. But more or less, the dynamic of the Colombos was changing, and the little satellite operation was going to fizzle out, and it was more or less go home, JoJo, and take care. go home and take care. Adios. Go on about your business, you know. But I still had to do a couple more things after that, but it just happened that way. It wasn't going to carry on, but I still had to do whatever my duties were, like to go run the bread and milk, you know. Because the Colombos had the biggest gambling ring, combined all the families. So even if Mike Franzese didn't come up with that gas tax scheme, the money generated from the gambling racket, forget about all the other rackets, but the gambling ring, the Colombo gambling ring was prime time. It was prime time. So he still would have been well off. But it's funny that he never paid the fines. He never paid anything from any profit-making mechanism after that to the government. The government's going to let a guy off the hook like that. What? So what did he offer them? Even $14 million as to be a fine of $14 million. Now, the Fed said they knew about the gas tax scheme to be upwards of $500 million. Well, why would they impose such a small fine? And then they admit that he didn't pay it. And proceeds from that B-flick dance movie that didn't earn a penny. So they hung their hat on that. So he's going to stiff the feds out of a fine. So there's a higher level of government that you're not going to see on these interviews, because I'm just guessing he put some money out somewhere. And they also state what I said before. I'm not going to play any more of that, but I also stated it because it's common sense that he had to pay money up to the other families when he was making all that money. He had to pay off the other 4 families to the bosses to keep everything straight. So very interesting to see Mike. I saw Mike as when he looked like that, but he was shaved. He looked like an accountant. Not a scary mob guy. No. So what else we got? Sir Drums, Benny, what's going on? Irish Jimmy, hello from Ireland. It's the Sunday night blowout. This ain't gonna be a long video, though. I'll tell you that much right now. The other part of this is Henry Hill, which I'm not gonna do right now. Henry Hill, we all know about him. You know, the Fed asked Mike, well, did your cooperation lead to anybody going to jail? So the federal guy is going to, of course, say, well, if you're making such deals with the guy, he ratted on a guy that was a chauffeur who was actually a undercover Fed. So what the hell is going on here? Well, the only guy that was supposed to go to prison was a chauffeur for Johnny No-Nos, and it turned out that he was an undercover Fed. So that's hilarious. So what did he give them? He didn't want to state in an interview, but they said his testimony and information could have led to hundreds of arrests, but the only conviction was information on a chauffeur that happened to be an undercover Fed. So what kind of tomfoolery is going on here? When there's a $500 million floating around, floating around, and they admit that he didn't pay the fine. Why didn't they say, yeah, he paid 80 million? Well, they fined him 14 million, and they admit he didn't pay a nickel. And they couldn't derive any revenue from any other enterprises he was running. What's going on here, folks? What is going on here? Are they going after the money he's making from his YouTube channel? He's been on YouTube for a while. I guess there was revenues generated from his YouTube channel. Hey, was that why he's got it under the Church of Mike? Guy's slick. His YouTube channel might be a DBA under the Church of Mike, where the government can't come in and say, we want this and that. If it's a religious enterprise, the guy is real good, folks. This guy is good. He ain't giving the government, I think there's some backdoor deals that happen and political things that happened also. Way higher than the federal's rank. The Fed rank, the FBI rank. There's something higher than the federal rank to tell the feds, well, who cares? Don't worry about it if you didn't pay off the fine. Somebody had to tell them, don't worry about that. So the highest level of government and political and politicians, you got to remember that these people rubbed elbows with politicians, prominent politicians. And that is the reason why, in my opinion, and everything on my show is alleged. Everything on my show is alleged. In my opinion, that somebody said, nah, let that go. Let that go. Why is a Fed going to do an interview and admit that, yeah, we fined him $14 million and he didn't pay a penny? Well, he reneged on it. You know where he lives, go get him. What? Like when I talk about the shadow men and the shadow mob, and the shadow mob could be, in my opinion, political. Just like you see entertainers, well, just like look at P. Diddy and all that. And so people got juice on other people, and then it gets all convoluted. And somebody, I'm guessing, somebody way, way up in government said, no, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Because maybe somebody said, hey, I got rid of that you don't have to pay. Don't worry about that 14 mil. Don't worry about that 14 mil, Mike. You know what? Just give me a little Christmas present, or, forget about them. We're not going to enforce that. We're not going to enforce that. This is just my guess. I'm just guessing. Everything's alleged, everything's speculation. But maybe there's a guy or two guys said, yeah, don't pay the 14 million. Nobody's going to do nothing. But you better come with a little something this way. I'm just guessing. I mean, that would be the best guess. If you flipped it, flopped it, zigged it, zagged it, that would have to be the best guess. Because the way you got to realize during this period of time is when the federal government was going after gangsters with everything in their power. With everything in their power during this era. And how does he get such a sweetheart? Don't worry about it. Take care. I believe he was an ongoing provider. Now, they can always say, just like with Norby Walter and all that, well, he didn't get, well, Norby Walter would have went to prison if he didn't pass away. But Mike would say, oh, I didn't rat or put anybody in prison. Your intentions were to put him in prison. The poor guy passed away beforehand. But when you give information on over 100 guys, is that what that was? Why don't they ask the question, in the interview after that, well, do you know if any of those guys you gave information on got convicted? Just they got all this stuff just floating in the air. So God bless Mike. It's a tough life and it's all crazy. And he's older now. And that's just the way it is. I mean, but when you look back on all this stuff, and the government never came across a racket, historical racket, not even in the Al Capone days. I mean, in Al Capone, they made huge money. I mean, this dwarfed what that, because I'll tell you, if they release information that could be 300 to 500 million, the way I look at it is multiply that times 5. If they release into the public account, well, this was from 300 to 500, and they released that information. The way I interpret it is $1 billion to $1.5 billion. Multiply that information. Like if a guy, says, yeah, how'd you do it? Hey, Johnny, how'd you do at the track? Well, I made 400. No, he probably made a couple thousand. He don't want to show his hand. So when people are admitting to rackets and things like that, I'd say the number is huge. Now you got that kind of money floating around, and these guys are saying, forget about that 14. Well, he never paid the 14 million fine, and the government never punished him for that. Mm-hmm. At a point where the government was coming down on the mob like there was no tomorrow. He got just speculation what happened and everything. Benny, I believe that he was being an ongoing cooperator and speculation, just guessing. Everything I say here is alleged. Everything I say here is speculation. Everything I might say is a guess. And he might, so I'm just guessing, maybe he was friendly thereafter for maybe information and maybe envelopes, maybe good old envelopes filled with cabbage, good old envelopes. Because you would think now, if they were brokering a deal, and just say in this fairy tale thought of mine, and they said, well, you got to give us 4 million. You got to give us 20 million. This is fairy tale. This is fairy tale speculation. So say somebody in the government, high government said, come with this 20 million. And then you can go out to Never Land. You could go out to Never Land. Come with this 25 million. You know what he might say? I'll pay it, but let me give you 5 mil a year. Let me give you 5 mil a year. So he's secured to be a free man up until that point in time. Instead of, oh, here's 25. So you can look at this stuff, whatever your perceptions might be. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. You could hear speculation years later. I asked my godfather and my cousin a lot of things, but it was speculation. It was speculation. And even my cousin, that was part of a hierarchy that was political, the Sicilians, that didn't have to operate under the five families. They could have been close to the Colombo or something, but they don't answer the bosses. There's another Sicilian gangster operation that goes on that you don't see on movies and YouTube. But they more or less are on the same team to just say, well, listen, Jojo, blah, 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 this and that. No, because he might have to remain loyal to these higher up government people. So you don't see it. It's not that confusing. You guys understand. You don't see that on YouTube, MobTube. You don't see that in movies. That there's other entities, powerful Sicilian entities behind five families that can come up with an army of soldiers. They don't need to have a club and go sit and do this and have they don't need any of that. They could pick up the phone and summons 300, 200 guys to just go cause destruction. But you don't see that. They make so much money, tons and tons and tons of money, clean money, contracts, construction. They made so many backdoor deals with contracts and government money, millions and millions of dollars, which would take a regular racket in a regular family a long time to make. They could do government construction contracts and make that money overnight. And they can also come up with an army. They could finance an army in a minute. You don't hear that kind of stuff, but so even my cousin, he had a marina, the most highly valued real estate down a marina where the yachts would come in and all that. But it was under regular business. And maybe you got to pay government officials, I don't know, to work there's codes, you got to follow codes and all that, whatever. But here's an envelope. What? Oh, I got to do this. Oh, well, there's an envelope for you. Oh, the canopy's got to be so high. Well, here's an envelope. I'm not going to make it that high. Well, here's an envelope. Turn your head. So the government was in bed with the higher up gangsters, businessmen, gangsters that could be associated with the Colombo and stuff. So Mike Franzese, because of his father, Sonny, and because of that money they grabbed, he rose up to a higher level of what I call shadow. Of course, he's got a recognizable name, but he went into the hierarchy of political behind the scenes. So you sit there and scratch your head and go, how do you get all these sweetheart deals? Maybe cooperation and or envelopes. So, yeah. Well, life on the street is a lot harder than what Mike ever experienced. No, Mike was a pampered kid. Pampered. They say he was going to go. They said he was going to go on the interview to be a doctor. He was going to go be a male nurse. What I understood, Mike was going to be a doctor. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was common knowledge. Well, not to the pub, but I thought he was going to be a male nurse. So he's a real nice guy underneath like that. But then he chose to go the path of his father, Sonny, and to go get fathered in and boom, boom, boom. So until that gas tax scheme came along, he's just running that gambling racket, And I was at the club that was a part of that business. Mike wasn't in the streets. He was in a Manhattan office. Manhattan office. He was, if he went the street, he went to get that package. He went to get that package. Oh, there's some money coming around. Oh, okay. Let me go. You know, he smells that money. Let me go get this package. And he'd have 17 guys. He'd have 3 cars lined up. So, which is smart. Of course, that's smart. Yeah, I would guess he never sat in a club. He never went to a club to have a drink. Mm-mm. Back then, there were clubs. There were clubs every 50 yards. There were mob clubs. You ain't gonna go sit in no damn club and have a drink. Not with the peasants. He ain't gonna sit with the peasants. No. He's on Saks Fifth Avenue in a high rise, like an accountant, with his feet on the desk, chilling, counting that money. Hey, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? But the Fed that's doing that interview is so full of crap. I mean, he's stating factual things, but it leads one to question, well, why'd you let it go? Why'd you let it go, Mr. Fed? Why did you let that go? They were gunning for everybody left and right. Now you could get the Prince of the Colombo family. And then after the fact, it was just like, well, not just a little slap. What? You could make your own assumptions, or you could make whatever. Everything on my channel is alleged. Everything on my channel is alleged. I don't know. So yeah, that's well, Benny. You know, even at the club, everybody was playing both sides of the fence. It just came to the point where, you know, everybody was like, or whatever, push and pull with whatever. I knew an agent, beautiful woman agent. But I didn't participate in violence and all that. So you know, if they got someplace surveilled and wired, and they say, you know, I don't like that JoJo. You know, what about this? What about that? Blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they're talking like there could be some violence on somebody. Well, they got to tell, even if it compromises an investigation, they got to go to that person and say, hey, these guys are planning to smash you out. Maybe sometimes they don't do it. Maybe sometimes they do. I'm just guessing. That's all. Everything on my channel is speculation, alleged, guessing, and that's that. And sometimes you could see things certain ways, and it could be whatever, but Mike's very cerebral, very, very great chess player. Mike, the chess player that he is. He's a great chess player. He's older now. He's doing his thing. I wish the best for him. I'm not bashing Mike anymore. You look at things, we're Christians, and hey, that was a crazy period of time. We're living today, and that's just that. I mean, you know, well, he's a rat. Well, what the hell? Everybody out there is a rat that you see out there. They're all rats. I mean, you want to hear stories? I've got 800 stories worth of videos I've already done. So make sure you hit that notification bell, hit the like button. There's a Cash App if you want to get me a cup of coffee. There's a super chat if you want to buy me a pair of socks and, you know, help a guy out over here. All right. I didn't get any of that tax money. Okay. I didn't get any of it. I didn't get any of it. It's the same jacket I've wore on 47 videos, all right, in case you haven't noticed. So that's that. Yeah. Yeah. Quantum effect residue. Yeah, I think Mike is sincere in his dedication to Jesus, because for him to make it out the way he did, he better give praise to God and Jesus, because he dodged just like me. Well, I was a raised Christian anyways. I mean, I was raised in the church, and I've been spared many times. My belief from divine intervention. I've been spared many times for not only running around crazy psychos, but divine intervention. So I'm a historical Christian. So Mike knows that for him to, come on, take the money and run, and live good and still be alive, that he better thank some spiritual entity. What's up, Anthony Vigil? What's up, quantum effect residue? Let's talk about quantum physics, and let's talk about the matrix and the probabilities of. Oh, all right, quantum effect residue. Good to have you in here, new guy. I talk to the people in here. I like to tell stories. Everything's alleged on my channel. Everything's alleged. I like to hang out with the people. I like to tell stories, and I got a huge library of it. And that's how I like to rock and roll. I'm not a wise guy, tough guy. I'm a guy that likes to laugh. I like to tell stories. I like to tell stories, and that's that. You get older, everybody's passed away. So I got people in here. I can tell my stories, and I can hang out with people virtually, but that's cool. So yeah, Mike got spared by divine intervention, I believe. hmm You know, we can look at political stuff. We can watch the news. We could get, even during the Biden regime, we could look at all that negativity and evil and stuff. But you gotta compartmentalize certain things and say, yeah, we wanna really speak out on that. But this Biden regime made me half nuts watching this craziness every day. so you gotta save some headspace for a game plan to rise up, a game plan for relationships, a game plan for your happiness, a game plan in other areas, because that TV will make you nuts at the end of the day. That TV will make you nuts. So sometimes you got to leave it where it sits, and then figure out how you can rise up in your mental health, in your physical, in your wealth, and other things like that. So you get it all here, folks. You get it all here. Yeah. Because it is truly good versus evil. It is good versus evil. I think Mike Franzese had a blessing or something. I don't know if it was just coincidence, or God and Jesus didn't have anything to do with it. He just had enough money to be where he is today, but who knows? But he was going to church a million years ago, sitting in there praying. He was sitting in those pews. He wasn't forgetting about God when he had a ton of money. He was sitting in small church praying like a faithful Christian. He was praying like a faithful Christian. He's probably sitting there praying, going, please God, I don't want to go to jail. I'll go, please God, I don't what's up, Wyatt? Philly Bob. So yeah. Yeah, that's who do we have? Quantum effect residue. What's that mean? Quantum effect residue. Man, I used to love probabilities and reality and Anthony Vigil. Yeah. I just like that word quantum. It makes you feel like you're smart. Yeah, my second time I went to college as an adult, I took up quantum theory and quantum physics. Yeah. It sounds like, wow, that shoots I'm smart. I was on the dean's. They used to have problems. They were this long on a page. Uh, Analysis of variance, quantum effect residue, uh, analysis of. This isn't a mob channel. I like to tell stories, but we're talking about probabilities and statistics and quantum theories. Analysis of variance, they were called ANOVA problems, and you figure out like a decision whether to do this or that. Should I whack this guy or not? Well, let's look at the quantum theory about it and what are let's. Oh wow! Oh no! Yeah, yeah. The Mandela effect. Yeah, the Mandela effect, like the butterfly effect. You see it all, no matter where you are in knowledge and degrees. Uh, it's good or not, but you still have to have your mind and logic and reason in place. We want to go through our life in joy. You got to laugh, folks. You got to laugh. Laughter is underrated, okay? Laughter is underrated. Medically, it's good for your immune system. So you got to laugh. You know, I mean, politics will wrap your mind up in a straitjacket and you're not on your best game. When you're stressed and pissed off about things, you're not on your right game to make good decisions on things. So, yeah. Joel Gold, you know it. It's easy stuff. You don't need a college degree. It's just useful information, non-useful information. You could walk down the street and a homeless man can give you more wisdom than a college professor. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. So it's all relative. The bottom line is you got to raise up in your mental health. See, this what you see on TV is a fixed game of cards. You're participating and you're playing cards, and the game is rigged and fixed to get your mind off base. So you could become a sheeple. You can follow the leader. You can be a consumer. Yeah, you can be a consumer. You see how whacked out these commercials are on TV? Do you see how idiotic these commercials are on TV of this day and age? What's up, Clips? Well, I just showed that video. I just showed that video prior to you getting here of the sweetheart deal that he kind of got. Yeah. Wow. No, Damon. Yeah, so everything you're seeing in media is to make you behave and react in a certain way. Consumerism is, everything's good, murder mittens. So we understand that it is what it is. I can't stomach to watch those commercials. They're so weird. It's all weirded out. Keep you in a unstable thinking. Get you to accept such gibberish. Condition your mind to over a period of time to think that's the norm. So we've been watching all this craziness on TV where after a while we won't even think it's crazy. We'll just consider that the norm. It's intended to just grab your mind. Yeah, it's insane. Movies and sports, just tools to keep you occupied so you just don't know how bad they're still. Yeah. It's all a distraction, and then they're coming through the back door. Oh, look. Yeah. Look over here. Well, yeah, well, the house is on fire. Well, by the way, oh, no, I was over here. Well, no, where's the fire extinguisher? Well, no, what, well, how people don't even realize the house is on fire and they're paying attention to gibberish. You get it all here on the Truth Serum, folks. You get it all here. Don't forget about that Cash App. Don't forget about that Cash App over here. I'm wearing boxer shorts under here and freaking tube socks, if you only knew. Oh, wow. Just thank you for joining in and the notification button. Yeah. What's going on, smoke alarm? So, yeah, I just wanted to give you a little insight on that long lost interview that Mike had, and just to raise, since people are interested in the mob genre on YouTube and stuff. So it came right out of their mouths. It came right out of their mouths. It came right out of that Fed's mouth. It's not speculation that he said, she said, he said. It came right out of that mouth. You hear so much speculation on MobTube, YouTube, MobTube, and everything else. But that came right from the horse's mouth. And it reinforces what I was saying before that there's more than meets the eye when you see these characters that cooperated and have YouTube channels. There's more than meets the eye. And people debate things between, you got the Mike Franzese camp, you got the Sammy the Bull camp, you got the Joey Merlino camp, and people debate these things based on limited information that they've been given. They could have been deliberately thrown off the track. So then people are defending these YouTube mobsters because they've been deliberately hoodwinked, and they're debating between themselves like sixth graders. They're debating. No, I heard this over here. This channel, this channel said this, and they're debating. They're debating because they bought into the game. They bought into the YouTube game. They bought into it. So you got the defenders of Mike Franzese. You got the defenders of Sammy the Bull Gravano. You got the defenders of Joey Merlino. And then you got the guys saying they're all rat no good. Well, these rats got huge views on their channel. At the end of the day, they're from the Mafia. They're hustlers. They know how to hustle YouTube. That's a layup to hustle YouTube. And then all the viewers and subscribers are bickering between each other. Oh, he did that. Yeah. They're laughing afterwards. Even Sammy the Bull and Mike Franzese, they're going to do that videotape or whatever. They're hollering at each other. They're hollering at each other. Two of the most notarized, publicized rats in the history of mankind. Maybe Joe Bonanno and the Valachi papers, that's pre. But two, they're arguing who's a worse rat to create conflict and views so they could sell that tape. So you got to buy that tape. So after they're arguing, who were they with? PBD or VLAD or whatever. So when they were done, okay, cut, good job, folks. Good job. Hey, Sammy, let's go have a coffee. Yeah, me, you got a good one on me. Yeah, that was good. It's freaking theatrics. It's theatrics. That's what it is. It's theatrics. Like they care to argue with the host there, VLAD. Like they care to argue. What do you think? They're supposed to exchange pleasantries while they're trying to sell a video for $49.99? No. They got done with that interview, and they called up their accountant and said, make a little room for some lot more money coming in because this went off real good. We were MFing each other. It went off brilliant. So a lot of people are going to buy this video. That's it. Well, it is. They're all hustlers. They're all hustlers. Nobody will know 100% a lot about the historical accounts of things that happen. Mike tells a lot of stories. We're not sure about the true historical account of all that. Sammy the Bull tells a lot of stories. We're not sure about the true historical account 100%. So what are you left with? Speculation and get what you can get. Get what you can get. At the end of the day, get what you can get. You know, controversy is good. Just like Dom C is controversy with Joy Merlino. It's like I said before, the soap opera gets the views. I don't want to be, I'm not in conflict with any of them. I'm tell stories. They sit there, they sell everything, all their videos. They sit there, get your credit card out. I'm the poorest guy out there, and man, I'm the poorest guy out there. I tell all stories all the time. They're just promoting this and that and this and that. Joy Merlino, you want to hear a story? You go on Patreon, you get your credit card out. Mike Franzese don't even tell stories anymore. Sammy the Bull Gravano don't even tell stories anymore. They're all recycled. They're all recycled. They maxed out. They're all maxed out. I never had a Cash App on here till 500 videos later. I never had a super chat option on my thing till 500, and I sold 2 books. So I like hanging out with the people and telling stories. What the hell? They're all sellouts. They're sellouts. They're straight up sellouts. They got no material left. They got nothing left. They juiced it all out. They juiced it. Yeah. So, yeah, there you have it. Yeah, I mean, hey, people are big boys. If they want to do that with them, well, that's all right. They're all sitting on big money. They're all sitting on tons of money, and they still make sure if you want to hear a story, you got to freaking get your credit card out. They don't have enough money. I'm broke, and I try to entertain and give the people a lot of stories the best I can. Whatever happens, happens. That's all. Whatever happens, happens. It's just the way it is. That's all. I keep fighting. I'm just stay in the game. Stay in the game. They turned my channel back on. So now that they turned my channel back on, I'm not swearing anymore. I'm not going to get into soap opera wars with all that gibberish. You want to hear an old time story? You come to the right place. All right. And we can chat and interact. You don't have to pay to interact with me like you do on the other thing. You got to pay that $50 for a recording. So listen, call Mike, and he could tell your kid happy birthday for 50. You could hear a recording from Mike to tell your kid happy birthday for 50. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right, Residue. Yeah, so yeah. They're all wealthy. They're all wealthy. Do you know while they're doing all that, they still get a government check? They still they could still be on the government payroll. It used to be 52,000 a year. I think it's 104,000 a year. During all this, they might still be on that plan. For a guy that cooperated, retired, past 62 years old, that could still be receiving compensation. They all got sweetheart deals. So that's it, folks. Thank you, Quantum Effects. Thank you, Anthony Vigil. Thank you, Smoke Alarm, Joel Gold. I appreciate it. Benny, thanks for coming in. Philly Bob, Wyatt Earp, Guns A-Blazing, Michael Candinas, first one in here. Thanks, buddy. Say hello to your family for me. Thank you, Mike. So, yeah, Benny, my man Benny. Deb, how's it going, honey? Sir Drums, my man. My man. So, yeah. Dean Stevens, I haven't seen you before, but come in, hang out. The water's fine. Brett from the New York City Crime Spot. Brett, show some historical landmarks in New York City. All right, my man. Show historical stuff. It don't only have to be mafia stuff. All right. Big Yin, what's going on? Damon Walker. All right. That's it, folks. Be the kings and queens of your world. Don't give up. Rise up. Try to have fun. Don't get too crazy on something. Stay focused. All right. The Cash App is in there. The Super Chat is in there. The link in the book is in there. If you guys want me to eat in the month of February. Okay. Thanks a lot, folks. Stay great.